they're going to be they're going to load the van at 12:30, and they're going to be waiting for you about.
One-on-one with Dr. Bob. I've got John Kalin with me. As you can see, he is all decked out. John, thanks for talking to us today.
Great to be here, Bob. I'm really glad you showed up. I thought you were going to be sitting at the mothership, and we were going to be dealing with by phone.
You know, after all the great stuff I heard, I just really wanted to be a part of this, and I made the trip up, got in about 1 o'clock last night. Hey, John, tell us about some of the tech stuff that you've got going on. I've seen that this camera right here is able to take some outstanding video. A lot of folks have seen that video over the past week online. If you can, tell us about that, and also tell us about your bike today that you led the races with.
Well, there was a couple of choices I had to make. One was which bike was I going to use, and as far as the video camera was something I already had. It's a little primitive, but it does okay as long as it's not too dark, and I just did a rollout showing folks the course at a little faster pace than they would be running it, so that anywhere anybody was, if they're going to come here to run in the future, they get to see what is this course. Then we did some still photos also, every 50 meters, walk you around, some notes. GPS tracks so you can follow which way do I turn in which race. The bike itself is built up fairly light, and I chose some components strictly to be able to climb the wall rapidly. The Pugsley would work out here, the big snow bike, and I may use it in the future. But this one, as an unknown course, not knowing who I was going to be dealing with as far as a fast kid that might like to catch the old man, I dropped a couple pounds off it and made it able to scoot up that wall. One gear, but top speed is not important out here.
You know, this course is absolutely outstanding. I haven't had a chance to see the back trails, but you keep telling me about it. You know, we've got something back there, and if you can, fill us in on the names. I know one is named after Brian Corbin.
I don't know about Brian's, actually, unless it's the coach's connector. There's two coaches' connectors or spectator connectors. They're a coronary-inducing climb up from the 1 mile point back up to the 2 mile point. That's a treat. But a lot of people got down there and watched. They used these to get down there and cheer at the 1 mile point and at about 1850, which is also the 4K for the 5K race and the 7K for the 8K race. There was a corridor of noise in several places that you would not expect it that developed today, and that was very inspirational, I think, for the runners. It's fun for me, but I'm doing the job, and you know, I've been through this. It's no big deal. But I was happy to see that for the runners. They're just not out there away from you know, civilization and running along doing a race. While they're doing the job in their own little heads, they also figured out you know, how to take advantage of this, get inspired, maybe gun it a little bit at certain points on the course. Very fast, good footing, firm footing. I know that came up a lot. The footing is not loose or spongy here.
Yeah. So special tactics being used by these early racers on this course already is what you're saying.
Bob, I think they figured it out. What happened was in each of the races I would call, you know, with some experienced runners that really knew what they were doing and can figure out a course pretty quickly, they realized as they came off the little Piney Woods loop the first time, but then especially the second time around, depending if it was the men's 8K where they do that 3 times or the 5K where you cut a little shortcut, when they got along the low side, what they did was they made a choice at that point to pick up. You usually broke it into a smaller pack than there was previous to that, and then they gunned it hard along that low side. It's cool down there, you can run fast, the footing is firm, there's really nothing to slow you down. You might look at it and say a little off camber might cause some problems, but it didn't. Looking back, peeking back, they were constantly motoring in a couple of places where you saw a leader do a breakaway. The wall is what you want to hear about, though. The wall is a 50-meter climb out of the low side that leads in with about another 50 meters of gradual incline, and then has, depending on which loop you're on, maybe another 50 or so meters after that, for a total of a maximum of 200 meters of climbing, but 50 is steep, and we call it the wall because of that. And what happened there was in each race today that was significant, where you had potential competitors that might be able to stay with somebody, that's where it went from a pack of 4 or 6 into single file after they cleared the top.
Yeah.
And that separated the wheat from the chaff. It absolutely did. Yeah. And then from then on, I took splits in each of the significant races, competitive races, where you had an issue, maybe who was going to win. That they split it dead even. First half of the race, second half of the race was exactly equal. That's pretty impressive, I think. That shows that they didn't make a mistake in doing their little boost. They knew what they were doing.
Well, today was the first day that folks had a chance to race the course. it's going to be used later on in the season. Why would somebody want to come back, let's say for the All-Star meet, and run this course again with better weather?
Well, we had heat today and we had humidity. This was record-setting heat for us this week. It got up to mid-90s, and here we are, you know, first or second week of October. That's pretty brutal because they've already run some cool days. I think last week, perhaps, at FL Runners, they might have had more comfortable weather from what I heard. And this is perhaps a little more challenging course, although I don't think this course is a slow course. I think this course, we'll find out, is the answer, depending on if we get the right race at, you know, the right weather and when they're in a position to run a fast time. But from looking at the way they were able to sustain, I like to call the race in halves. And when you can sustain the first half the same as the second half and not just die, you know, being brave, I think that kind of proves the course itself is not an issue. And we did have steamy weather today. As it went along, it got pretty nasty out there.
Well, I think they're going to have maybe a district meet, and then hopefully the FACA All-Star meet will be here as well. And folks that come up will not only be able to run this great course, but I think there's a lot of nice things that are going to be involved with that FACA meet. John, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. What do you say? We get on the bikes and go ride the course one more time.
We've got to see the course, Bob.
All right, let's go.
Thanks much.
John Kalin, folks. Thanks again, John. 168 yards to go from here, right into the finish. Finish up right between those two oak trees. We better get out of here. Big piney rooters coming our way.